I'm Finn Graves, and today we're going to work on the Treehouse mural that we started last week. So what I'm going to work with today is I'm going to use a giant Sharpie to define and highlight the lines of what I really want to keep, because this was the sketch, right? And so from the sketch we need to move forward to what our actual painting is going to look like. And so I'm going to use a thick Sharpie. You can use a really thick graphite pencil if you want to, or you can move to Sharpie now that you're sure what you want. Get a clean, clear Sharpie if that's what you're going to be using. Otherwise, just keep using your graphite pencil and we'll work on this. Yeah? Okay, let's get started.
Okay, so what you're going to start with here is you're going to take a big thick Sharpie and you're going to outline all the most important lines to you. This allows you to really see which lines are most crucial to you and allows you to create clarity around what your vision is. The previous thing is going to be really sketchy and super inaccurate, and that part's okay. This is the place where you're able to add in new things. If you see, I'm adding in new little signposts for what I want to put there. And then I'm adding such strength on the roots in the trunk. Remember to take steps back and check it out. I tend to start with the background and define the outer side of the tree and then the landscape and then the roots and then move inward. This is because I've been tattooing the last couple of years, and so you start with bold will hold, and that's an aspect. Now, one thing to remember and to consider is that this type of work isn't meant to be super realistic. I have a bold comic illustrative style, and so what works really good for my eye is not necessarily what's going to work really good for your eye, but just have fun with it and play with it. So here I'm defining the outer edges of the little tin can house, and then I'm continuing to move through the tree. I tend to keep my work right in front of me. Some artists jump all over the piece, but for me, I find it really crucial, and it creates a sense of clarity, and part of what art does for me is create a sense of clarity in my life. And so that's why I really like solid, strong, bold lines. I like to know that I have touched that page and I have created that space. And working with Sharpies, not only, I love the sound of Sharpies, just the way it scritches and scratches. And because I turned the volume off so I could record narration over top of this, you don't get to hear it, but trust me, it's comforting. I think that's one of the reasons that the Zentangles are so fun for people on YouTube, is they get to hear the sound of Sharpie. So not only is it this pretty thing that they get to watch come across the page, but they get to hear the sound. And Sharpie has been one of my mediums that I've worked with the most for the longest period of time. For 10 years, I didn't use any pencils and I only worked with Sharpies. And I really enjoyed the way that it helped me capture the essence of shapes. And that's mostly what I'm concerned with as an artist, is capturing the essence of shapes. Art isn't meant to be real life for me. It's a representation of a feeling and an emotion and a way I connect with the world and a way I create a reality that I like, versus, again, I'm not so impressed with this reality that we live in. And so I really appreciate the way art allows me to imagine a different reality in which 5 tree houses could be supported by one giant tree. Talk about communal living there. And I mean, technically, if you think about it, squirrels and birds and all sorts of different animals live inside trees. So maybe it's just squirrel life, but I'm creating houses. So go back into the middle parts and start defining those. It allows you to get some of the shapes in. And then what I'm doing here is I begin to block in the shading. You don't have to be real serious about your shading block in. This is just to remind you that these are the places that are going to be shaded. And again, I'm not being very concerned about actual accurate lighting. If you want to be concerned about accurate lighting and find where the shadows fall on your tree, feel free to do that as well. For me, what I'm doing is I'm creating a bold statement piece of mostly just of imagination. And what that does is allow me to showcase the pieces of it that I really think are important and that I want to pop into the foreground. But if you want a more accurate representation, feel free to look at your reference picture of your tree and block in where the shadows are. I do recommend you use pencil, like big thick pencil on that part, because you might want to erase. I don't like to erase. It's not my thing. Yeah. Okay, so I'm finishing up with the bottom there, and I'm filming off of my Android, so it's not the best camera, but you know, you work with what you got. Okay, and then I move up to the top after taking a step back to look at it and see if there's any other places I need to do. And then here I am drawn in that rope ladder. Rope ladders are so fun. Have you ever tried to climb up one? They're really hard. I don't have enough upper body strength to climb rope ladders, but you know what? I really like them. And I like how much fun it is to think about that. So here I'm going back in and popping in all the little details that I think are really important for me to remember. Again, bold. See, it's the same piece, just more bold, right? Okay, now here, I'm drawing the shadows for where the tree leaves would be darker. Remember, all of this is still a sketch. It still is. It's just all the background work. So think of this as like the under drawing to your underpainting, because we'll have underpainting that comes next. Okay, and now here you can start to develop and decide how you want the leaves to be showcased. I'm using lines and shadows and shading just as a reminder. I'm not going to, right again, I'm not creating accurate lighting for this on purpose. I'm creating a background of darker, so it creates kind of negative space behind the little houses, so I can make them pop with color, because they're going to have some real intense, super fun color on them. Because I'm not concerned with realism. So don't worry too much about how your lines look. If you notice, my lines get kind of like scritchy. About there, actually, I'm like, okay, this Sharpie is dying and my arm is tired already. So feel free to, I like to use the motion and to showcase the directions I'm going to be going, because flow is important to me, and that, like the way it feels and the way your eyes move through the piece, that's more important to me, because I'll get super geeked out about a corner of it and then be like, oh my god, did you see the way those leaves are? And people will be like, yeah, but the rest of the tree is like so big. And I'm like, yeah, but these leaves in this corner, you don't even know. So don't worry about your lines, is what I'm trying to say, and just draw them in. This is just a map. It actually goes faster if you're not using a Sharpie and you're using a pencil, but if you're using a pencil, be careful about putting your hand on to the piece, because you're going to rub it everywhere, which I totally forgot to mention since I'm using a Sharpie. But you can erase, which is cool for some people. All right, we're coming to the end. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll post how to do the underpainting and the background painting next week. Yeah, if you liked it, feel free to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Looking forward to it.